name's Steve Gailey. I have the honor of looking after tech services here in the EMEA region for Sumo Logic. I'd like to welcome you all to this New Year's Cert Jam. It's great to see you all on this. You're going to be supported. John Meredith is a wonderful trainer. He's going to be taking you through the training for the next couple of days. But you're also going to be supported by a couple of my colleagues. So Taffy is on for today, and he'll introduce himself in a moment. And I'm hoping that Bryn is either already on or will be joining later, and he'll also be providing any support should you need it. And before I hand over and let the others introduce themselves, I just wanted to say how fantastic it is. This is the second Cert Jam that I've joined at Sumo, which means I've been here just 3 months, because the first one I joined, I think I'd been here about a week. I think it's fantastic to be part of a company that believes that training for their technology should be free. It's all about getting the most value you can from the technology that your companies have invested in. And I think training is a natural part of that. And unlike companies who also want to charge you for it, we believe that the more value you get, the better it is for you and the better it is for us in terms of delivering real value to you. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm your sponsor for this. If you run into any problems, Taffy or Bryn can grab hold of me and I'll leap to your assistance. But let me hand it over now to Taffy. Perhaps you'd introduce yourself next.
Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to the Sumo Cert Jam. It's exciting to see all the participants who are with us today. My name is Taffy Makamure, although on my screen I am showing up as Steve Gailey. The joys of technology when things don't go according to plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Taffy Makamure. I will stick my name in the chat, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I am available as John will be presenting. I will be in there taking a look at the questions and just responding to any questions we have. I may or may not have answers to the questions that you guys have, as we tend to get a lot of really interesting use cases which come up. And if that happens, we certainly, anything that we can't answer online, we can certainly answer offline. But it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys on board. And look forward to you also enjoying the training as much as I will do as well.
And I'm not sure that Bryn is on yet. Bryn, are you there? No. In that case, let me hand over to the wonderful John Meredith.
Okay, thanks, Steve, and thanks, Taffy. Like I said, my name is John Meredith. I am your instructor for today, tomorrow, and the next day. In case you're looking at here and you look at, like, my room looks a little dark, it's because I'm on the US East Coast. So for me, it's a little after 4 o'clock in the morning, so the sun hasn't come up just yet. But again, wanted to welcome you. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the day when we can do these things face to face. But for right now, this virtual environment works fairly well. The one thing as the instructor, I'm going to ask you all is please ask your questions. Okay, I have learned, as somebody who's been teaching since I think it started back in 1986, that when you ask a question, 3 groups of people benefit. So number 1, you get the answer to your question, hopefully, and so you win. 2, you help calibrate the instructor on what's really important to you all by asking your questions, so the instructors win. And then, of course, typically by somebody asking a question, they get somebody else to think about something. Oh, I wanted to ask about that, or that's something related to what I wanted to ask about. And so before you know it, we've covered things in a real and interactive way, rather than me trying to do a talking headshot here. So, Taffy, as you see here, has put in his contact information in the chat box. You are welcome to put your questions in the chat box, the Q&A box. You're welcome to unmute your mic, ask your questions directly, whatever we can do to help you. Our goal here is obviously to help you. pure and simple. So there's a couple of introductory slides here. And as I said, here is your the folks who are joining us. Like I said, Steve, there's his contact information. There's my contact information. And Taffy has put his in the chat box. So anything we can do to help you, again, please feel free to let us know. One other thing, and that is when we schedule these Cert Jams for Europe, if there's specific classes or topics or things that you would like us to talk about, please feel free to let Steve know that. And so we can pick the topics that's most applicable to you, that helps you all out the best. So, and we'll talk a little about some of the training and stuff we offer, but I promise you it won't be a bad commercial. So as Steve or any of us can tell you, we found that when people take the certification, people use the tool more, pure and simple. So one of the things that we'll do with today, tomorrow, and Thursday is we'll have a chance to have 2 hours of lecture and lab. And then immediately after that, you'll have an hour where you can take certification exams. And I'll talk about the 3 courses and that sort of thing in a second. But what we have found, like I said, is if people take the certification exam, they are more likely to play with the product. They wind up using the charge for training because we want, it's an enabler. We want to make you successful. We want to help you become successful. We don't want a little obstacle like price to come into the way. Okay. And then, of course, if we look at the demographics of who all's here, as I say, Europe is well represented with 28 companies across 22 cities in the areas of DevOps and security both. So again, good mix, good folks. And again, feel free to ask your questions. Feel free to network. Feel free to work together on this. As far as the agenda today is, today we're going to cover a course called Fundamentals, Sumo Fundamentals. And it's basically going to be a little bit of a harbor tour of Sumo Logic and what Sumo Logic can do for you as a whole, the core platform. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about observability fundamentals. And basically, you'll find in a few minutes, I'll show you our environment. Actually, I'll show it to you right now, if you don't mind, because this makes a little more sense. So if I go in here to Sumo Logic, we're going to talk a little bit about in this class today about log search. Okay. We've got some other classes that help talk about log search, but tomorrow's class is going to be talking about traces and spans and service maps and explore and root cause explore. So those new tabs that we've added over the last year or so is really the conversation of observability fundamentals. Now, again, we want to make it easy for you to see across your environments. Whether you're on the cloud, you're on-prem, makes no difference to us. We want you to be able to see across your environments to see what's going on. And so when we get into that class, you'll see how that all works out. And then the Thursday, what we're going to focus on is Cloud SIEM fundamentals. And Cloud SIEM fundamentals, if you'll just bear with me a second here while I shift around a little bit, is this right here, which is our big security product, which allows you with this heads-up display and this various information to see what's going on from a security perspective across your environment. So that's going to be Thursday. So again, I think you're going to find some good information here on all 3 days. And like I said, from Thursday, we'll explain this whole interface, explain what's going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you got any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, let me get back here to my slideshow and let's go ahead and kick this off. Any questions before we get started? All right, well, let's start with the Sumo Fundamental Certification. And again, I'm going to save bandwidth here by turning off my camera. So just to make it a little easier for you. And so our agenda for this morning is we are going to talk about what is Sumo Logic, what does Sumo Logic do for me. Then I'm going to walk through a use case where we use it to troubleshoot and monitor an environment. We have a fictitious company called Travel Logic where you can book airfare, cars, and hotels and travel wherever you want. And of course, Travel Logic happens to run on AWS, which also happens to, they use Sumo logic to see what's going on. And so we're going to use Sumo logic and travel logic's information to see what's happening and identify an issue and resolve that issue. So we're going to have a little story there about monitoring and troubleshooting. Then we're going to jump into 7 labs. We're going to do 7 labs today, talk about where and how you can see what data you can work with. And then we're going to start creating a little query where we can search, parse, and analyze that data. Then we're going to add some aggregated things to it to be able to show it up as a bar chart or a line chart or some sort of visualization, and be able to do some trending analysis there and monitor the critical events. And finally, we're going to wind up creating dashboards and creating alerts. So that's going to be how we're going to spend the next hour and 45 minutes. And then the last hour will be spent with you having a chance to take the certification exam. Consists of 30 questions. They'll have 60 minutes to complete it and get your certification as a Sumo generalist. Now, just to sweeten the deal here a little bit, we are offering up an Uber Eats reward. So if you get certified today right after class, all you need to do is take your certification, and I'll show you where you can find the certification. If you email it to training-promotions@sumologic.com with your email address, we will then send you back a $15 Uber Eats voucher. So we will gladly do this. Like I said, if you take the exam, pass it, and send us the certificate. And by the way, I'll do everything I can to make sure you pass it. I'll try to, explain some of the questions that'll be coming up and things like that. By the way, I'll be here while you're taking the exam. So if you get hung on a question, Taffy will be here too. Feel free to ask us, and we will try to give you, a good answer here to try to steer you in the right direction. The exams, by the way, are open book, open notes, open slides, all kinds of open resources. So anything we can do to help you, feel free to let us know. All right. So what does Sumo Logic do for me? Well, as I said before, I've been a trainer for a long time, but I've also done lots of stints as an IT manager, a DBA, a programmer, a network admin. But I enjoy teaching the most, so that's what I come back to doing. Back in the day when I was an IT manager out here up in New Hampshire in the United States, I dealt with a law firm. And so I would come in about 45 minutes to an hour early, and I would check my logs. I checked my backup logs to make sure things ran. I checked my Active Directory logs, see if they managed to lock themselves out. I checked my email logs, make sure nothing bounced, all that fun stuff. Had I had Sumo Logic back in the day, I could have taken what took me 45 minutes to an hour and done it in 5 minutes or less. Because here I can see across my operational intelligence, I can see how my environments are doing, all my services running, microservices, what's running, what's not running, that sort of thing. Or I can see where my users are logging in from. And does it make sense, right? So if you're a UK-based company and your folks are logging in from the UK, that's great. If they're logging in from someplace else, maybe you might want to check that out. I can see my firewall traffic. I can see what environments people are logging in from, right? If you're a standardized Windows company and you're all using Windows and somebody logged in from a Mac, again, maybe that's something you may want to look into. And then, of course, we can also look at this from a business intelligence perspective, right? What are people buying? What are people interested in? What are they doing with our websites? All that sort of activity. And then where it says global intelligence over here to the far right, this is at a very high level. We can look at your operational intelligence, security intelligence, and business intelligence by your geographic location, things like that, just a very high level. So, for example, if AWS guard duty tells us there's an attack going on somewhere in the world, we might be able to see who's impacted by that attack. Now, obviously, your roles, you've got a various wide variety of roles, but I suspect your roles all have something to do with you using Sumo Logic, which is why you're giving up 3 hours to be with us today. So be that as it may, we've got something for everybody. As far as your data, again, you're running various applications. You may be running microservices. You may be on the cloud, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform. We don't care. We support the cloud. We support legacy applications and legacy servers. Not a problem. If you're running things like Office 365 or Salesforce, things like that, software as a service, we support that information. Basically, if it generates logs and metrics, we can bring it into Sumo and we can see what's going on. Now, Sumo Logic runs on AWS. We are born in the cloud, raised in the cloud, so we scale up, scale out as needed. If you need more resources, we'll automatically just throw them at you. We'll scale up as you need to. If you don't need those resources anymore, we'll scale back down, no problem. We support multi-tenancy, right? We've got machine learning and advanced analytics built into our product. We have an API, application programming interface, lots of different APIs that you can use to programmatically do things from other systems. You want to create users, you want to create collectors, all that stuff, that can be done programmatically as well as manually in the product. And then probably the most important thing on this slide, as far as I'm concerned, is our security and monitoring. We work with great rigor with regulating bodies to maintain our SOC 2 compliance. In the US, we are FedRAMP moderate authorized. We are CSA STAR compliant. We are PCI compliant. So we work with great rigor to maintain these certifications so that you know that you're dealing with a trusted organization. And not only are we trusted, and we say it ourselves, but like I said, these outside agencies have certified us in these various areas. So that's the overview here of Sumo Logic. Now, what I want to do is I want to change focus here a little bit, and I want to talk about a fictitious company called Travelogic. As I said, Travelogic is a place where you and I can go and book travel, flights, car rental, all that sort of thing. And Travelogic uses Sumo Logic and to monitor their environment to basically see what's going on. And I'm switching here to a different environment. Again, you don't have to log in anything. You don't have to worry about seeing anything right now. Just watch and we'll go from there. Now, Travelogic also uses Slack. So here in Slack, I can see that I'm getting some alerts. So here I'm seeing that I'm getting some alerts. I'm getting some Sumo Logic errors last 7 days. And so these are things that I want to resolve. You'll find that with Sumo Logic, we can send messages to Slack, we can send it to Microsoft Teams, we can send it to whatever. Some form of alert is telling us that we've got a problem. And I could click on these buttons and they would take me to specific dashboards. Now, since maybe you haven't played with Sumo Logic, let's manually kind of take you to those environments. So here I am logged into my Sumo Logic demo environment. And here, if I go into my library, which is my shared area where we can all see things, and if I go into my production folder, and if I go in here to like production, either 08 or 09, I can see information about my company's business. I can see what people are booking, what people are interested in, that sort of thing. But what I'm really focused on is not so much how the business is doing, but I got an operational message saying I've got a problem. So I'm going to open up my operations folder and I can go in here to my operations overview. Now, this operations overview dashboard has a series of panels. As you can see, these little panels right here. And it looks like there's about 4 across, 3 down, so there's 12 panels. A panel for us is a query. So when we write a query, it generates a panel. We can have it generate a panel and add it to a dashboard. So I'm looking at 12 different metric key performance indicators here. And we've color-coded these. So based on the value, green is good, yellow is questionable, red is bad, okay? And so what I can do here, like I said, is very quickly see that I've got some issues here with my checkout service, my load balancer, et cetera, et cetera. If I go back to my Slack message for just a second, you'll see there was a link that said, go to operational overview. I could have clicked on this, and this would have taken me to this operational overview dashboard. So as I said, I've got some sort of an issue here. Now, if you think about stuff, Checkout service means somebody's trying to pay for a purchase. And if they're trying to pay for a purchase and they can't, and I'm generating errors, I am losing revenue. This is not a good day, okay? So what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and click on this checkout service. And when I click on this checkout service, it's going to take me to another dashboard, my services detail. And I see there's a question or something. So let's see if I can help you out here. Okay. Somebody asked a question. Each node represents a device IP address or a system name. You can set it up that way. Or you can specify, however you want to set it up. In this case, this is just looking at my system as a whole. So here I'm looking at my checkout service. Here I'm looking at my database. Here I'm looking at various microservices as a whole. But you'll find that in our Explorer tool, which we'll talk about tomorrow, I can look by node. I can look by pod. I can look by various Kubernetes environments or various structures. So it just depends on how you set it up. Does that answer your question? Okay. So again, I clicked on this checkout service. It took me to my services detail. And again, you notice here I've got a few less panels. I've got 6 panels. So here in my panels, I can see that my bookings are going great up until about 4 o'clock this morning. And then all of a sudden something went wrong. Okay. I'm starting to generate failures. And then what's interesting about this is that my failures generate till about 4:15, and then the problem magically goes away. This is one of those things that in IT drive people crazy. Problem occurs and then suddenly just kind of goes away. By the way, I can use these panels here to turn on or turn off various settings. So I can see various things. So I see all of a sudden about 4 o'clock in the morning, my time, I started getting these errors. Also in here, I can see that errors over the last 7 days. So today, my errors of today, which is in orange, that shows up. If I turn off my errors of today and I look at my 2 days ago or my 4 days ago, I had 0 errors. So this is a problem that suddenly reared its ugly head, and we want to investigate this. We want to see what's going on. Down here, my errors by node. Here I can see, I can look at my travel environment, my prod environment. I'm in my production environment, my travel worker node, and I've also got my travel checkout node. So the travel checkout node, having done this and seen this lots of times, actually should have a larger number of errors than my worker node. But for whatever reason, our simulation data is having a problem right now, and we'll take that problem offline. But I should see much more errors here in my checkout node. My checkout node is having problems, okay? And then here I can see that I'm generating some latency across my orders, which again occurs when I have these problems, right? So I'm having problems, taking people longer to check out, there's issues, and I can see there's some latency here as well. This happens to be an outlier diagram. So my outlier diagram shows me my data points, and then it gives me a cloud of plus or minus so many standard deviations based on my data points. And then if I've got a point that's outside of that, that shows up as a red triangle. And you can control how many standard deviations, how many data points you want to go back, all of that fun stuff. And then up here, I'm able to see my CPU and total memory. So here I've got a CPU node, right? This is my travel admin node here. I've got a couple of other nodes. Here's my travel checkout node. Notice it's spiking. I've got some other various nodes and stuff here that are behaving okay. And then somewhere up here with my dashed line, there's my memory usage. So I can see my memory spikes also when this problem occurs. And again, I could go in here and filter down and see what I want to see and all that good stuff. So what I want to do is I want to use Sumo logic here in this dashboard to help me isolate and understand what's going on. I know I've got a problem in my travel checkout service and my production environment. So here in this visualization, I want to see the underlying query. So I'm going to click on this little icon up here. That's going to open up a tab and it's going to show me this underlying query. Now, in this underlying query, what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at some metrics. This is my CPU total, my max value by node. And that's what I'm seeing, my various nodes, travel admin, travel production, travel checkout, and my travel checkout node is the one that's probably causing me the most concern. Also, I can see my memory usage, and that's my dashed line up here. This is my memory usage. So I can see how my memory is behaving. Now, these are metrics. These are quantitative key performance indicators showing me the actual values of my metrics. Additionally, I'm also looking at my logs. So here I've got a log entry here. I'm looking at my travel checkout logs, specifically for the words error or exception. And when I look at both metrics and logs, this generates this heat map up here, this orange heat map that you see above my chart. And actually, I generated this heat map over here, but there were no errors. So what this heat map is trying to show me is when my values and my metrics spiked and went up, I started generating errors. In this 1 minute of time, I generated 224 messages, error messages. When I say messages, these have the word either error or exception on them. The next minute, I generated 221. The next minute, I generated another 221. So I see that somebody's got some raised hands, some questions here. So let's see if I can help you out. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat box. Can we get notification for critical alerts based on risk also? Yes, you can. You can also set up specific alerts. So we can set up a lot of alerts here. And the time is real time or based on default system time. It is based on typically real time. It's real time monitoring. And so one of the things that we can do, and to answer your question, we also have added a lot of new functionality with regards to alerts. So we can create an alert that shows us things. And again, you can be notified via Slack, Teams, email, basically all kinds of different ways, PagerDuty, all kinds of different mechanisms that we can use. So I hope that answers your question here. And I know looks like Taffy's answering it as well. So hopefully we can do that. Hi, is this assuming that this is an on-prem system based on CPU and memory? Actually, this is actually running on AWS Cloud, to be honest with you. And this I know because we've set it up. It actually happens to run on AWS, but it could be on-prem, it could be on cloud. It doesn't make any difference. I will tell you that we've got some nice dashboards and nice things that we pre-built for AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and stuff like that. This is an older example that we manually built all these dashboards ourselves, but you'll find, and I'll talk about it in a minute, that we've got a whole bunch of pre-built apps that lets us see how AWS is doing, how Google Cloud Platform is doing, how Azure is doing, and so forth and so on. So hopefully that answers your question. And I see Taffy here is adding some more information. So back to this. What I want to do is, again, when I get this heat map up here, and there's a test question about this, which is why I'm pointing it out. When you see this heat map, and when you're looking at a metric query, that means that it's showing you the heat, the orange here, is when you have a large number of log messages that correspond to your metric values. So that's what this heat map here is trying to show you. So here I'm looking at the last 60 minutes, starting here to there at 60 minutes of coverage. And again, I see this spike of values here, the spike of messages. Now, I want to use Sumo logic to investigate this. I want to investigate it further. So what I can do is I can hold down my shift key, go up at this heat map, click on it, and now it's going to show me my log messages. So before I was looking at metrics, now I'm looking at logs. And you may ask yourself, why? Why did I do that? Metrics typically tell us what is going on. Another test question. Metrics typically tell us what is going on. Logs typically tell us why it is happening. So logs explain and help us determine the root cause. So that's why that is. So what happened is when I did that shift click, it opened this up looking at this 1 minute of time, that one little heat map area that I clicked on. So let me reset this and change this back to 60 minutes. And I'm going to rerun this log query. So I'm going to hit the blue button over here. And you'll see that I've got, again, my little heat map here, which shows me I got 224 messages, 221 messages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Before that, I didn't have any error messages. Afterwards, I didn't have any error messages. What are these error messages it's looking for? It's looking in my travel checkout environment, my prod environment, for the words error or exception. Okay. In fact, while I could use this and see this error exception, and I could probably find the error here pretty quickly, this may not tell me what caused the error, because chances are what caused the error is not going to be labeled with the word error or exception. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this error exception for right now. And basically, I'm going to see a lot more messages, right? Right now, I've got about 3,341 messages. Where it says results here, that's the number of messages that I have. Once I get rid of the word error exception and rerun this, you will now see that I'm up to 24,000 messages. So I'm seeing all of my messages, not just the ones that have the word error or the word exception in it. And obviously there's 24,000 messages here. I don't really want to go through each one of those messages. I want the system to help me out here a little bit. And fortunately here in Sumo Logic, we can do that. If I click on this button, log reduce, what it's going to do is it's going to run the same query, but it's going to combine my like messages together over the last 60 minutes. This is going to take a little time, take about 30 seconds or so. And I can see while this is going on, it's gathering my results, how long it's taking, how many results it has so far. But it's combining my like messages together. Okay, it's done. Took 22 seconds. Again, I got about 24,539 results. Again, another test question here with regards to what does this mean? This is the number of log messages that you've received. Okay. Now, this automatically in my messages, I still have my raw messages there, but as a result of my log reduce, I've combined those together. So out of my 24,539 messages, 9,541 are this message. Now, this message is a trace statement, right? Application developers put trace statements in their code that they want to pump out to the log for whatever reason. And where I see these stars is where the values are different across the 9,000 different messages. So informational message, error message. Okay. So I've got 896 of these error messages. Okay, bad handshake, SSL routine, SSL, get server certificate, certificate verification failed. Okay, again, I see a bad handshake, certificate verification failed. Okay, so knowing how credit card systems work and knowing how PKI works, I know that between my checkout service and the system that I send this to approve the credit card charge, they use PKI or public key infrastructure to encrypt the credit card information that we then send to the payment service. And the payment service says, yep, it's approved, or no, it's denied. And we send that information back to the customer. But all that data is encrypted. If it can't encrypt the data using this certificate, it won't process the transaction. It will not send the credit card information. I'm going to see these errors. So I can see that my problem is that I've got a server certificate that failed. Maybe it's missing, maybe it's expired, maybe there's something wrong with the certificate, but something has happened here. And so now I've got a pretty good idea of where to look. Let me take a look here at the chat box here. I say, oh, good, Taffy's been busy adding some great stuff. Terrific. So I now have a good idea of what's happened. There's a problem with my server certificate. Now, besides looking at my high numbers over here, I can also flip this if I want to, and I can look at my low numbers. And here, when I look at my known low numbers, and this is why, by the way, I get rid of the word error exception, because I want to see this message. This is my boot up message. When I started this application, prod 08, my service is checkout, but my version is 1.14 dev. 1.14 dev. This is a prod environment. I wonder if somebody promoted one of my dev environments to prod, but did not change the certificate. And that's exactly what happened. Somebody promoted a dev environment to prod, but forgot to change the certificate. Okay. Now I know what caused the problem. Now I can fix it. And if I am smart and I have my dev environment, my developers, and I have their logs, right? I can actually create some dashboards here where I can take their logs and I can see maybe who did promote it. And then I can, investigate, know how long it took them to promote it and see how long their development times are and all that fun stuff. So not only can I see my operational environment, its behaviors, I can see into my development environments. I can see across all kinds of different things. But hopefully this example gave you a good shot of how in Sumo Logic we can see across our environments. That was our goal. Now, I'm going to flip out of this for a second. I'm going to go back to my training environment. I'm going to have you log into a training environment here in just a few minutes. So, and we will start playing around. Back to my slides for a second. So we started out with some sort of a monitor, an alert, right? We got a Slack alert, or it could be, HipChat, a ServiceNow, PagerDuty, Datadog, all kinds, or you can create your own webhook in other systems like Slack or Teams or whatever. Bottom line is we received a notification, and there's other alerts that we can create as well. That took us to a top level dashboard, which showed us based on color codes and things like that, issues. From there, we went into the metrics, and the metrics identify what's going on, what my problem is. And then from there, we went into logs to see why it is happening. So logs typically tell me why, metrics tell me what is going on. Any questions? All right. By the way, for those of you for planning purposes, I plan on taking a break probably in about 20-25 minutes, just so you all know. Okay. So I'll take a 10-minute break in about 20-25 minutes, and then we'll come back and finish things up. As far as Sumo Logic and using Sumo Logic, there's a 3-element data flow that we use. The first part is getting data into Sumo Logic. We call it the data collection phase, and it consists of collectors and sources. By collectors, there are 2 broad categories of collectors. Hosted collectors, so if you're on the cloud, there's already a collector there. It is maintained by Sumo Logic. You don't have to worry about it. We set it up, we maintain it, we take care of it. It's part of your cloud environment, okay? And then the other type of collector is installed collector. This is something that if you're on-prem, you will need to install. It's a little lightweight Java-based application that allows you, it compresses your source data. It's going to encrypt that source data, and it's going to send it to Sumo Logic. So these collectors compress, encrypt, and send to the Sumo Logic environment. Think of them as the highway under which all of your log and metric data is going to flow. Think of them as the piping. Now, the sources are the sources of data. Do you want to grab your S3 logs? Do you want to grab your CloudTrail logs? Do you want to grab your Azure Network Monitor logs? Do you want to grab metrics from your Azure environment? What sources of information do you want to grab? And we support a bunch of various sources throughout. So your sources are the log or metric data that you're bringing into Sumo Logic. Once we get data into Sumo Logic, and by the way, if you want to learn more about setting up data collection and collectors and sources, 2 choices there. One, you can take our administration class where we show you how to set up collectors and sources. Or 2, we also have a bunch of micro learnings. If you go out to YouTube and you search for Sumo Logic, you'll see that we've got a bunch of 5 to 10 minute videos on things. And so we've got a bunch of videos on setting up collectors and sources on YouTube that you can review. Now, once the data comes in here, then we're going to search, we're going to analyze, we're going to run queries, we're going to build queries, use various operators to get the information that we want, and then ultimately aggregate that information so that we can build bar charts, line charts, map charts, some sort of visualization. Then we're going to take that visualization and maybe we're going to add it to a dashboard. Again, that query becomes a panel in our dashboard, and we can have as many panels as we want. So then we build our dashboards and also create our alerts. And that's the third phase of this. And in this class, we're going to focus, I'm going to show you a little bit about data collection in the sense of looking at what we've collected. And then we'll talk a little bit about querying, build a dashboard, do some light alerts, and things along those lines. That's going to be today's session. So I said, two types of collectors are hosted collectors. So if you're on the cloud, anywhere, software as a service, SSO, multi-factor authentication. Again, these collectors are already there. They're already installed. They're already configured by us. They're maintained by us. You don't have to worry about it. If you've got a bunch of on-prem environment, a bunch of servers, you can install a collector on each machine that you want to grab logs and metrics off of. Or if you want, you can set up a consolidated installed collector where you set up a collector here, and then you can have these machines forward their logs, metrics, whatever to this machine. This machine would then encrypt, compress, and send it through your firewall into the Sumo Logic Cloud. So that's your choices as far as getting data to Sumo. Now, besides getting your data to Sumo, we're also going to use metadata tags. And these metadata tags are going to become very helpful and handy for us when we start searching for things. So if I wanted to reference and look by things by the name by its collector, I could say underscore collector equals, and then the name I gave that collector. Or if I want to do it by source, I could say underscore source equals and give it the name of that source that I created. Now, you'll notice these first four are not bolded. And by the way, of these first four, I do want to point out this one called source name. Source name is on the test, and it is the name and path of the log file. So if you want to find the name and path of the log file, you would use source name. Conversely, you would use source name to find the log file itself, identifying its name and its path, its file structure in there. So just want to help you out for the exam. Now, the other one that we recommend, this one's bolded because we recommend that you use it as a best practice. We recommend you use this one called source category. So when you create a source, you can specify a field here, a metadata tag called source category. And in this source category, what we want you to do is we want you to break this down by assemblies with slashes. So your first assembly could be things like prod, dev, QA, your big major assemblies, or US East 1, US West 1, whatever. I'm sorry, excuse me. UK, whatever, UK. So this could be broken down geographically, by function, whatever you want, by environment. And then you're going to put a slash in there. And then what subassembly am I talking about? My authentication service, my web service, my email service, my database service. Slash, and then what specifically am I talking about within those? So here I have lab / Apache / access. I could have prod / Apache / access. You can configure these up however it makes sense for your environment. So therefore, it makes it easy to find the information that you're looking for. And this is our best practice, one of our recommendations. Yeah. All right. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like you all to log into our Sumo Logic training environment. So I'd like you to fire up Google Chrome or Firefox. So either Google Chrome or Firefox, and I'd like you to go to service.sumologic.com. So as far as the URL goes service.sumologic.com. Now, I'm going to stop the slides here for just a second because I want to take this information and I want to copy it and I want to paste it in the chat box. So the second thing I want you to do is I'd like you to pick a 3-digit number between 001 and 999. And I'd like you to type it in the chat box. So pick whatever number you want. Somebody in the UK is going to want to be James Bond. Somebody's going to grab 007. I get it. No problems. Okay. Make sure it's a 3-digit number, Murad. So 022, please. There you go. Thank you. So again, 3-digit numbers, and then you're going to use that 3-digit number. So what happens is you're going to take that 3-digit number. And again, folks, thanks for the prompt response on this. You're going to log in as Training Plus Analyst with that 3-digit number at sumologic.com for your email address. Training Plus Analyst with that 3-digit number at sumologic.com. And then the password is capital NEW, capital YEAR, numeral 2, exclamation mark. New Year 22, exclamation mark. That is our password. So, oops, sorry about that. Just to show you how this works, I'm going to grab 603. I don't think it can be grab 603. 603, by the way, happens to be the area code here for the state of New Hampshire that I am in. So I'm going to log in Training Plus Analyst 603 at sumologic.com. Assuming I can type here. And then the password, I'm going to go ahead and show you the password here. The password is New Year, and the first letters there are capitalized, 22, exclamation mark. Okay. And if you hit sign in, it should just log you right on in. Okay. And that's it. That's how you can log in. Now, one thing, the password does change every month. So come February, we'll change it again. And if you ever want to know what the password is, you can send me an email. And I am putting my email address in here as well. This is an open system. You can come in here and play anytime you want. And the reason we like this open system for our training is we've set up the sources and the data and everything, so all our labs work well out of this training environment. If you try to do our labs in your environment, it's not going to work real well. Cynthia, I think somebody else grabbed 007. So you may want to grab a different one here. I'm just double checking here. Maybe I'm wrong. Oops. Nope. Yeah, Scott grabbed it. So if you would, Cynthia, grab a different number. Grab 008. Anyway, let me go ahead and I'm going to sign out of this. I'm actually going to log in with my account. And there's a reason why. In case you guys get stuck, I have administrative privileges. So if there's a problem, I can take care of it. All right. No worries. Yep. So here we are in the Sumo Logic environment. By the way, you may have a bunch of tabs open here. The previous person who logged in with the account may have left you some tabs. We'll clean those up in just a little bit. I'll show you how to do that. Also over here, I have my navigation panel open. So this is my navigation panel. If it's not open, if it's closed like it is here, you can click either where it says Sumo Logic or click on this hamburger menu or stack of pancakes. Don't ask me why things relate to food for me. It's probably not a healthy conversation. But if you click on it, that will open up your navigation panel. Okay. And then here I can see my library. So here in my library, this is the common area that you and I can see things. We can see dashboards, we can see folders, we can see all kinds of stuff, queries, anything that's put in here, we'll typically have the permission to see. Personal, this is your personal area. And even if it's in your personal area, you can still share it with others. So even though you put it in your personal area of this Sumo Logic environment, you'll find that you can share this with others. And I'll show you about that in just a little bit. Here under favorites, if you want to mark something or bookmark something as a favorite, you can. How you bookmark it, it's real simple. I'm going to go out here to one of these folders or any of these objects. I see there's a star over here to the right, a hollow star. If I click on that star and fill it in, it is now part of my favorite. That's all there is to it. Fill in the star. If you don't want it to be a favorite anymore, click on the star again and it hollows it right out. It's no longer a favorite. What could be simpler? Then over here, recents. I can see recently opened by me, and these pale greenish icons are our legacy dashboards. These new bluish icons are our new dashboards. These orangish reddish icons are our log searches. And of course, I can see folders in here as well. Now, besides looking at recently opened by me, I can also see recently shared with me. So if people share something with you, you can see that as well. So two different ways of looking at things. Okay. All right. By the way, I want to make sure everybody's in. So if you would, please do me a favor, raise your hand to let me know that you guys are all in, please. By the way, I see I've got a lot of folks who have joined us who I need to enable you all the ability to talk. So my apologies on that. I'm falling down on the job here. So I think I've got everybody enabled to talk now. And like I said, about 21 of 34 of you say you are logged in and good to go. If anybody's having a problem logging in, please let us know, okay? If you're having problems, let Taffy or myself know so we can help you out. But I want to make sure everybody gets logged in so you can play with this environment and see what's going on. By the way, I understand that some of you may be distracted by work right now. And so it may be kind of hard for you to maybe log in or whatever. I understand. I feel your pain. So no hard, no foul if you don't log in. But this is a hands-on class. I want to give you a chance to do that. So it looks like 16 of you are logged in, good to go. I'm not hearing any problems or concerns about not being able to log in. So let me go ahead and lower all the hands. And let me lower Taffy's hand there. And so as I said, here is our navigation panel, right? Again, the library, the personal folder, your favorites, and your reasons. Now, down below our navigation panel here is our main menu. Our main menu. And I'll go through some of the features and stuff in this main menu in just a little bit. Here on my home tab, you'll see I'm broken out. Here's my home tab. Here's a learn section. And here is a certification section. I'll talk about the certification section when we get around to doing their certification exams. At the end of today, I'll talk about that. But the learn section is really kind of handy because the learn section gives you the last couple of micro lessons we put out, as well as if you scroll down here, let me close up my navigation panel. I don't need it. Here's my labs for fundamentals. So I can quickly go into our labs here for fundamentals. Here's our labs for administration, by the way. Here's a section for cheat sheets, documents, all kinds of fun stuff here. Hang on a second. Looks like I'm getting a fair number of slacks here. Let me just see what's going on. Okay. Okay. Somebody is trying to join our class, having a little problems trying to get in. Okay, you're here. Great. Yeah, thanks. All right, excellent. We don't want to leave anyone behind here, guys. Okay, so feel free to join us today. Feel free to join us tomorrow. Feel free to join us on Thursday. So great. All right. So again, I was here again in the home tab, the learn section within the home tab. And let's talk about some of the stuff, right? So for example, if I click on get training, I can see what training we're offering, where we're offering that training. You know, we typically try to offer classes in Europe, India, Asia Pac, the United States. So we try to cover the world and make things available. This ask for support is one of the many ways that you and I can access and get to support. In fact, you'll see a test question on it. One of the ways I can click on this link. You'll also find that in here in my main menu under help, I can go to support there, go to our support site that way. I can go to support.sumologic.com and log in a ticket. I can email support@sumologic.com. So there's lots of different ways to get to support. This cheat sheet area, by the way, when I click on cheat sheets, this is my log operator cheat sheet. This is some of the operators that we use in this class and some of the other query classes that we use. And if you want, when you click on the cheat sheets, at the end of the first paragraph here, you'll find there's a PDF version of this cheat sheet that you can print out and put next to your computer. That provides you information about the various operators and stuff that we use. So I'm going to take this cheat sheet and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in the chat box just to make things easy for you. Okay. And by the way, if you wanted to do with metric queries and stuff like that, you could do a search here. By the way, this is in our documentation right now. That's what it took us. If I search for metric operators, lo and behold, there are metric operators. There's our metric cheat sheet. So again, if you want to learn about metrics and metric queries and stuff like that. Now, what I want to do is I want us to go into, bear with me a second, I want to close this one tab. There we go. And I'm back here in my Learn. And I want to go in and I want to click on fundamentals here and view my data. And I want you to click on that tab. And again, I'll put this link to this tab. It's in our product documentation. But it's in our product documentation. Here, you can see all of our courses for the most part, with few exceptions, have our hands-on labs here. So here's the Search Mastery class, which really focuses more on query building. Here's the Security Analytics class. Actually, that's Security Analytics class. We've got a Metric Mastery class, all kinds of different classes here. The Security Analytics class, by the way, has been deprecated. This is its successor. So we've got this Cloud Security Monitoring class here, but you can click on these and you can see the labs, and you can actually, in our training environment, take these labs. You can go ahead and run through these labs in our training environment. If you try to do it in your company's environment, you probably don't have the data. So I suggest you do it in our training environment. Okay. Now, I am looking at the hands-on labs fundamentals, and you'll see that we have 7 labs, and those are the things that we are going to do. Okay. Before I get into lab number 1, I want to see if there's any questions, because this is probably a good place to take a break. Are there any questions at all before I think about taking a break? Okay. Then what do you say we take a 10-minute break? When this timer gets down to 0, I'd like you all back. So take a break, get some coffee, whatever, and I'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Thanks. And if you've got any questions and stuff, feel free to let us know. Don't have to raise your hands. Just go ahead and ask your question or type in the chat box, whichever works. Thanks.
Hey, Bobby. ब्रेक है ना 10 मिनट का बस ब्रेक एंजॉय करो।
Hi everyone. I just dropped a link within the chat that takes you to the Sumo community page. Really is useful. There's a lot of activity which goes on there, and handy hint, you may find some existing queries which other people have written within the query library, which can help you accelerate the analysis of the logs or the data that you have within Sumo. So you can get quite complicated queries and do all sorts of crazy things of subqueries or queries within queries within queries, and that's a really useful place to go in and take a look. You may also find that there are other people who are using products for which we don't necessarily have dashboards for. That's not to say that we can't analyze the data. We can analyze it. It's just a place to go get some pre-built queries that you can use for that. So really useful. What you'll also find is you may start getting some LinkedIn requests for myself just to connect. I believe it's absolutely fantastic for us to connect as professionals, and LinkedIn is one of the channels where you can either get a hold of me or also find out what's going on with the latest developments within Sumo Logic as well. Thank you.
Hey, Adam, understand you can't log into service.sumologic.com. Adam, what kind of error message does it give you? Please verify credentials.
Is that the one you provided in the training analyst at SumLogic? That one.
Okay. And you typed in a 3-digit number, right? So it's training plus analyst with say 603 at sumologic.com.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
3-digit.
Great. That works. I'm sorry. 343 is a good number, Adam. I hope that you're able to log in now.
Okay, thank you.
And again, folks, I stepped away to take a break myself and get some more coffee. So if you're asking me any questions, I apologize. I should have told you that before I left, but I'm back.
John, I think everyone else is going to grab their coffee as well. I was in the chat and available to answer questions, and nobody has raised their hands so far.
Cool. All right. Looks like things are going well then, Daddy.
It looks like everyone's got their coffee and everyone is fully attentive. As they say, coffee is the fuel that runs technology, right?
Yep, it certainly is. And I can assure you that when for those of you who don't know, I spent 20 years of my life in the U.S. Navy, and coffee is definitely the fuel that runs the United States Navy. They tried to get us on a health kick to try to do decaf coffee. That didn't work out real well. And Abbess, this is John. You didn't have the ability to talk. You do now. So feel free to ask a question if you've got one or anything we do to help. And we'll get started here in about 1 minute and 16 seconds or so.
Just got a quick question, John. Keith, will there be a download link to this recording at the end of the recording? Paste in chat, please.
Okay, I can't do that, and let me explain why.
Okay.
Once I finish this meeting and I close the meeting, that's when the link is generated.
Okay, right.
So it doesn't, I can't get it earlier than it becomes available. I will send it to Steve and Taffy. And then they can forward it on to you guys or whatever. So I believe our education ops team will send the link out to you all. But
Okay.
so you should get it by today or whatever. And again, keep in mind that for you all, like I said, it's getting close to noon your time. But in the United States, we haven't even woken up yet. So, and the folks I work with, my operations team is on the West Coast of the United States. So they will certainly get it out to you before you guys get up tomorrow.
Okay. So there will be a download link then, basically.
There should be a link sent to you. Yes. Yep.
That's great. Right. Okay. Thanks. Cheers.
No problem. Absolutely. And actually, let me take that as a teachable moment. Okay. So the question was, is there going to be a link for this class? And the answer is yes. We will provide you that link. But more importantly, if you go out to our community. So again, let me go out here and I'm in Sumo Logic. I'm down here. I've opened up the navigation panel. I click on community. And here in community, if you search for the word slides, 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 and you do an actual search, you'll see that we get this link back. And I'll put this link in the chat box as well. What this link does is it provides you for our fundamentals or any of our courses, a link to the labs, a link to a recording of this class, and a link to the slides. So I'm going to take advantage of that question that was just asked, and I am going to make you all aware that
as you add that, John, I'm also just going to add one additional resource that is available to all. On our YouTube channel, you will find that we do have some recorded cert jams which are there. So if you're going to YouTube, I put a link to our YouTube channel a little bit earlier on in the chat. Happy to bring that link back again for the Sumo Logic channel. But if you go in there and you search for Cert Jam, you will find some Cert Jams already in there. That one caveat, which is obviously the latest version, is the one which is currently running now. And so when you guys will obviously get the link as John mentioned after. But for those who can't wait and who want to immediately get access to it or access to some training, please do search for Cert Jam on our YouTube channel, and you'll get access to that. I think, John, once you get to the Sumo Logic site, there's actually a specific search button which is there, which is for the channel that you need. But Cert Jam Sumo Logic should do it. Thanks.
Thanks, Daffy. All right. So again, just another way of getting these recordings. So just trying to help you all out. All right. All right. So we just left and we had come into Sumo Logic, right? We went to service.sumologic.com. We went here to learn. We clicked on Lab 1 viewing data. And here in Lab 1 viewing data, this is where we're going to start. So we're going to sit there and do these 7 labs in the next 45 minutes, maybe 55 minutes. I may take a little bit more time. But basically, we're going to go ahead and start running these labs. So for those of you who do not have the lab link open, I am going to paste it into the chat box. And you are welcome to click on that lab. And so the first thing it wants us to do is it wants us to sign in. You've already done that. We're good. We're in good shape. The second thing it wants us to do is it wants to see what data is available. Now, I get this question all the time. Gee, John, how can I see what data I can use, right? Great question, perfectly legitimate. So what you can do is you can go into Sumo Logic, whether it's a training environment or your company's environment. You can open up this navigation panel. You click on Manage Data. You click on Collection. And then here in the Collection tab, you can see all of your collectors. So what kind of data can I deal with, right? So these things with triangles are collectors. Underneath the triangle are your various sources of data. And you'll see almost all of them have a source category. So when you create your sources, you give them a source category so it makes sense for your environment. So this is one way of seeing what data you can play with in your company's environment. Okay. Another way of seeing what data that you can see here is if you scroll down, we can also query for it. And so what they want us to do is they want us to go into Sumo Logic here. They want us to find this new blue button, click on it, and we want to choose log search. Everything we do today will be log search. Tomorrow we'll do some of these other buttons, but today it's all about the log search. And then if we scroll down in our directions here, you'll see that it talks about, yes, open up a log search, and we'll talk about this interface in a second. But down here is the code, and you can swipe over this code, and you can right click and copy this code. And then you can go in here to Sumo Logic and you can paste this code. Okay. Now, truth be told, I'm going to break this down. So I'm going to start with simply a star. And when I hit either my enter key on my keyboard or clicking this new blue button over here with the search, the magnifying glass, this runs my query. And what I'm basically doing with that wildcard is I'm saying, look, give me everything, right? Everything over the last, in this case, 15 minutes. So I've got 929,798 log messages. That's my results. Again, my status is done. It took 8 seconds. Here are my results. There's my session ID. And life is good. Okay. And then here are my respective log messages. And you'll see that there are all kinds of different log messages. So that would be CrowdStrike. If I jump a page or two down here, I got a lot of CrowdStrikes. Let me just jump around here. Oops. Okay. Thank you very much. Come on. Okay. This one happens to be my logger. So that I can see all kinds of different messages and stuff I have here. Okay. So that basically that star said, give me everything. Now, what I want to do when I want to do another command is I type in a pipe, a vertical line pipe. And I say, give another command. I want to count by, and in this case, I want to count by a field called underscore source category. By the way, notice as I start typing in, my little IntelliSense here or my help tooltip shows up and says, hey, look, let's help you out here a little bit. And so it will try to guide me to what I want to do, try to give me a suggestion. So now what I'm doing is I'm saying, look, give me all my messages, but I want you to count it or aggregate it by source category. So here in my messages tab, those are my original messages, hasn't changed. There are my messages. But now when I did a count or a sum or a min or a max or whatever, that created this aggregates tab. And now I can see out of my 830,000 messages, 1,336 were from this category source. 17,000 are from this category source. So I can see how many messages out of my sum are here. And then if I want to, I can even go one better. I'm going to type in another pipe for an additional command. And I can either type in the command sort by or the command order by. And what I want to do is I want to sort it by my count. So I type in underscore count here. And this is where things start getting a little wonky. This count here is an operator. It doesn't have an underscore in front of it. Okay. So think of a teacher in the classroom counting students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. The results of the count are stored in underscore count, which is why I told it to sort by underscore count. And if I don't specify a sort order, it will put it in descending order. So by default, it puts it in descending order. If I want to specify it, I could specify it by typing in DESC, or if I want it to be in ascending order, it's ASC. So you can pick the order that you want to. Okay. I like descending order. So now I can see where the majority of my messages and stuff are coming from. Now you can take this code, if you're using source category in your company, you can copy it, you can paste it, and you can run it in your own company, and it will display similar results. It will show you where your data is. So it's very powerful. By the way, I could also then type in another pipe, and I could continue this command out. Now the problem is, while this command will run without any problems within the system, us humans are going to have a hard time reading. It's going to turn out to the world's ugliest run-on sentence. So we recommend, or I recommend, that before each pipe, you either want to do a shift enter, which will wrap it to the next line, or an alt enter, depending on whose keyboard you're on. If you're on a Windows keyboard, it's an alt enter. If you're on a Mac keyboard, it's a shift enter. And so you can put each of these on their own separate line if you want to. The system doesn't make any difference. You run them all together or you put them on separate lines. But it's probably easier for us humans to read this. Now, here we go. Some questions. Okay. Cynthia, is 007 taken by other numbers? Yeah, you should probably take 008, Cynthia. I think somebody's got it before. Somebody asked, how do I increase the number of results loaded on a page? Stephen, that's a good question. So Stephen, let me answer your question this way. In your messages tab, right now you're seeing, I think 25 messages per page. Here in the gear settings, Stephen, is where you can change your display message preferences. How you want to specify how many pages you want, or how many messages you want per page, okay? So you can do it there. Let me answer some other questions that are here. Are the fields case sensitive, Marin? The first couple of fields, the first line is not case sensitive, and I'll get more into that a little bit. When we get into a where clause, that will be case sensitive. Whatever's in double quotes is going to be case sensitive because it's going to a little string match on it. But that first line, this scoping line, as we call it, or metadata tag and keywords, that is going to be case insensitive, and that's very important for you to know for the test. So I'll get back to that. Can we sort by multiple columns, then by category, then by count? Here's the problem, Adam. I can go through a lot of permeations and combinations of things that you can do, okay? The question is, what's your use case? And, obviously you want to sort by this, and you want to sort by that, and all that stuff. I can probably do it, probably a more elegant solution than what you want. So to answer your question, can we sort? Yes, we can sort by this, then sort by that, and all that stuff if you want. By the way, specifically speaking about sort by and order by, if you want to here, I can do a Google search, right? Sumo logic, sort by. And so you can go in here and see the sort operator and see, gee, how can I do this? Here we go on a group by B operator, all that fun stuff. So this will give you an idea of, all that stuff, and feel free to play. So good questions, folks. I'm trying to field them, but again, it's not so much the questions I'm worried about, it's the end result you're really trying to get to. And we've got a long way to go to get there. So bear with me. All right. Another point here is back to my query. This time, I can pick whatever time I want here based on the pick list. So I can say I want to go back 60 minutes, or I want to go back, last 24 hours. You can decide how much data that you want to see. The problem is the time that you want is not one of the ones probably listed here. Let's say I want to go back 45 minutes. It's not listed here. So the code for this is real simple. You want to go backwards. That's a minus sign. I want to go back 45 minutes in my case. So it's a 4 and it's a 5. And it's an M for minutes, a D for days, H for hours. So you want to go back 45 minutes? That's it. All you got to do. Now, not only can you go back relative time, but you can also go back and choose dates in here. So you can specify, I want to go back from the December 1st to December 31st. And I can even pick times. And you could type this in. By the way, if you don't specify the year, it assumes current year. So if I just type in month and day, it specifies that. And for those of you who are in Europe, which I assume is all of you, here's a major point. I'm typing in month, day, year. You all do day, month, year. How do we get around that? Well, in Sumo Logic here in our navigation panel, where your user account is, there's something called preferences. And here in preferences is one where you can specify what time zone you may want to use, and then what date format you may want to use. So by default, it's set to use your default date format. So for you guys, it'll be day, month, year. Most of you. For me, it's month, day, year. But that's how we get around that craziness. And you can change this if you need to. Okay? That's under preferences. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the lab. So we did this, we got our results, life is good. Next thing they want us to do is they want us to find and display a shared dashboard. I'm going to assume those of you new to Sumo Logic, you want to run a new dashboard that somebody put out there. You want to be able to find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to Sumo Logic, right back to our training environment. We're going to go into our library because it's in our library. And we're going to search for Apache. And as I start typing in Apache, the word Apache, and I'll start typing in Access. Now I happen to type this all in lowercase. It doesn't mean care. And so when I type in the search, you'll see that I get 3 Apache Access folders and 2 queries. This first folder is the one that we all want. Okay. This is my folder that I created for this exercise. This somebody else created. It's an older folder. You don't want it. In fact, I'm probably going to delete it here one of these days. Now, if you click on this Apache Access folder to open it up, you'll see you've got this dashboard. And I've got 2 folders. And if I wanted to go into logs, I'd see I got a bunch of other dashboards here. But what we want to do is simply run the Apache overview dashboard. So this particular dashboard shows us information about our Apache environment. Where are your users logging in from? What kind of 4XX, 5XX codes are we getting? What top 5 critical messages? Now, later on, you and I are going to go ahead and install an app. And the goal behind installing these apps is rather than recreating everything from scratch, your queries, your dashboards, and all stuff, we have pre-bundled up a bunch of applications ready for you. And our goal when we pre-built them up was to get you somewhere between 70 to 90% of the information that you needed. Okay. And then I figure that last 10 to 30%, you can customize these dashboards yourself. So you'll find that here in the app catalog, we've got apps for all kinds of things, a whole bunch on AWS, a whole bunch on Google Cloud Platform, a whole bunch on various things, Apache, Apache Tomcat, Azure, Azure Network Watcher, Azure SQL, right? Bitbucket, Circle CI, Cloudflare, Docker. In fact, one of my favorites that I can relate to, you probably can relate to too, is Zoom, right? Typically get on Zoom calls. So when you open up one of these apps and click on it, like I did Zoom here, I can preview the dashboards to see the kind of information it's going to tell me. And so I can look at these dashboards to see, is this something worthwhile? Do I have to do a lot of customization, whatever? And when I'm done, and I can install this. Now, we're going to get into installing this app here in just a second. In fact, that's our next thing. We're going to install an app and view content. And again, our goal when we created this app catalog was to provide applications for you that hopefully make it very easy for you to get the information that you want. Okay. In fact, one of our core values at Sumo Logic is that we are in it with our customers. That's a core value. It's one of our 5 core values. And so when we were all, because of COVID, working from home, we created this work from home solution section where people could install an app on Slack, or they can install an app on Zoom or OneLogin or Okta or Teams. And they can see, how my people are using, how your employees are using Microsoft Teams or Office 365 or whatever, since everybody's working from home now. So we've got these different categories. I would like you all to click on this all categories section. So again, if you're not with me, let's go ahead and open up your navigation panel. If it's not open, let's click on app catalog. Let's click on all categories and let's type in the word Apache. And as I start typing in Apache, you'll see it starts to filter my results so that I can see Apache, Apache Tomcat, et cetera, et cetera. Now we want to we're going to install an app. So we're going to click on Apache with a feather here, this first one, Apache with a feather. We're going to click on that. And again, we could preview the dashboards if we want to see what's going on, right? See the kind of stuff that we're going to get. But we're going to go ahead and install this app, and we're going to do it for an exercise here in a little bit. So you will need this app for another exercise. Now, when I click Add to Library, I get to give this app a name. And I want to pick a name that's going to be somewhat unique. Apache is fine, but I recommend that you also add your initials. It'll make it easier for you to find. So you want to add your initials to the Apache name. And then in my case, because I do this about once a week or so, I'm actually going to put today's date. I'm going to put month and day here. So 01/18. You don't have to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to assume nobody logged in with your previous number with your same initials. So you can if you want to, but you don't have to. Is there a question?
Yes. Sorry, John. I've got one of our students, Abbas, who's mentioning that when he searched for Apache Access, he's getting an empty result. Do you mind just going back and showing him the shared library where he needs to click on first?
Yep. So, and again, let me back up here. So back here in this part of the lab, we're doing find and display a shared dashboard. We select library from here. Then we type in Apache Access. And it doesn't make any difference how you type it in. You should see this Apache Access folder right there. Does that take care of things? Or do we need to continue? You should be able to see it. Okay. I can't. Okay. Okay. It says no saved contents. Oh, okay. Evis, let me ask you a question. Are you in our training environment? Or are you in your company's environment? Down here at the corner, it should say something like training analyst, whatever number, and it should say Sumo Logic Training. You're in corporate environment. Well, you want to get out of the corporate environment. You want to be in our training environment. I can't control what you have in your company environment, but I can control what we have in our training environment. So all these exercises were written with our training environment in mind. So no problem. No problem. No problem. And again, if you need the login information, hang on a second. Taffy, can you help him with the login information? Or do you need me to recopy it real quick? Here we go. Never mind, I got it. So for those of you who joined late, here is the login information. Please pick a 3-digit number. So when you log in as training plus analyst with that 3-digit number at sumologic.com. So you can pick any 3-digit number you want from 001 to 999. But there's the login information. You want to be in our training environment, service.sumologic.com. Okay. Hopefully I got us all taken care of and we're back to where we need to be. So in lab 1, you guys were finding and displaying a shared dashboard. Then, as I said, we're going to install an app and view the content. So we're going to go in here to app catalog. We're going to search for Apache. Make sure we got all categories selected, Apache. We're going to find this Apache with the feather. And we want to add it to our library. And when you add it to your library, I'd like you to add your initials in here. I don't care if you put an underscore in there or not. And as I said before, I'm going to tack on today's date because you'll find I've got a few Apache JWMs in here. Now, this application is going to install, but I need to tie it together to the data. And there's 2 ways. I mentioned earlier that we could use source category. And that's one of the ways that we recommend that you do that, using source category. The other thing I can do is I can use a key value pair. And so in this case, we're going to use the key value pair. We're going to enter a custom data filter. I see there's a hand raised, to give me a second. And if I go back to my directions here, we selected Apache, click the add to library, added our initials. And then here for our custom data filter, we're going to basically use a key value pair where we're going to say web server underscore system equals Apache. Please do not copy out the period. But you want to say web server underscore system equals Apache. I will put that in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Better to use whatever you want to. Use your last 3-digit number. That's fine. Whatever you want, sir. Yeah. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I probably did. So my apologies. So I want to copy that in. So this is basically, we're telling it where the data is, what the data source is called. And if I click on advanced, you'll see it's going to add it to my personal folder. And that's where I want it. So then when I click add to library, it's going to add this to my personal library. And when you click add to library, it's going to add it to your personal library. So here's my Apache JWM 0118 that I just did. Okay. This is one I did back in November. Okay. December and so forth and so on. But here's the one that I created. And if I open up that folder and if I run this Apache overview dashboard, I see it populates with data. And we're going to use this dashboard later. We're going to modify in another lab. Now, one thing you might have noticed by now, I'm getting a lot of tabs up here, right? A lot of tabs. Now, I can close them up one at a time for sure, but that's kind of cumbersome. You can also, on any one of these tabs, you got these 3 vertical dots. If you click on the 3 vertical dots, you see you have an option to close all tabs. And so you can close all tabs and clean it up right off the get-go. So I recommend if you need to close all tabs, close all tabs. Okay.
I think there's a raised hand, which is there.
Yep. So how can we help there with a raised hand? I know, by the way, Madani, this is John. If I'm gonna lower your hand, but if you got a question, feel free to ask it, type in the chat, feel free to unmute yourself, ask your question directly, whatever works. We don't stand on ceremony here, so feel free. And again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I'm sure I did. Feel free to correct me. I'll try to be better. Okay. All right. Damaris mentions that specified data source has an invalid syntax. I assume that's what you're getting as far as an error message. So again, back here, we grab this web server underscore system equals Apache without the period. And also you need to change this from the source category to enter a custom data filter. So that's, you added a period in there at the end. That's why you're having a problem. And the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and just re-add it. Give it a different name, give it a different number or whatever, and re-add it. And that should take care of it. Okay. And again, make sure you're also in the training environment. Any questions, problems, issues? All right, one other thing, now that we've installed this application, we may want to share it with others. So there's one more thing we got to do here. Okay, Damaris is all set. Thank you very much. Appreciate the update. So we want to share this with our fellow workers and stuff like that, our teammates, right? So again, on this folder here, again, I have this 3 vertical dots. We call it the kebab or the more action button. If you click on the 3 vertical dots, you'll see that you have the option to edit it, share it, export it, move it, everything except compress. Okay. Compress is not an option here. The reason I mention it is you'll see it again in the test question. So I'm trying to help you out, but we want to select share. And here, when we share something, we can share it with 3 distinctive groups of people. One, you can share it with your entire organization. So everybody who's logged into Sumo, you can share it with everybody who's logged into Sumo. Great. You can also share it with various roles in our product. Now, all of you have the role of being the training analyst. So I'm going to share it with that role as well. So you can share it with the whole organization, roles, and then also the third part is named users. Named users. So I can sit here and search for example, here, Taffy to see if Taffy's got an account in our system. I don't believe he does. So I will add Josh Brotheim, who's my boss. Maybe I'll add Josh. Wow, what happened to poor Josh? Anyway, let's do this. Let's anyway, I can see my named users and I can grab a named user here if I want to. As it is, I won't worry about the named user. And then here, I'm going to decide what permissions, privileges I want them to have. View means they can view it, they can run it, they can see it, they can execute it. They can't make changes to it. They want to make changes to it, they need to have the edit permissions. So edit means they can view it as well as make changes to it. Modify the dashboards, change the queries, stuff like that. But they can't change the permissions of who can see it. That's the manage permission. So manage has all the edit rights, plus it has the ability to change permissions. Now, I'm going to initially set this all to view. Bear with me, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. So I'm going to initially set these permissions out. I could notify folks via email if I wanted to, but I'm not going to create a mail storm right now. And I'm going to go ahead and click save or share. And so initially I'm setting everybody up with view right. Now, I want to go back in here again, back to share. And this time I can see who has access. I created it. I have full manage rights. The training analyst can view it. I'm going to change your permission so you can edit it, and the entire organization can view it. So again, you'll want to know what these 3 access permissions are, and that read is not one of those choices. And I'm going to click save. Just trying to help you with the test. Okay. And so I've now shared this with other folks. And that completes lab number 1. Any questions? All right, in lab number 2, we are going to create a search. We are going to create a query, okay? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go out here in lab number 2, and I'm going to click on that new blue button, log search. And I believe it wants me to, I could copy this code in and paste it, but I'm going to explain the code a little bit. So let me actually enter it in. Okay. So I'm going to start with underscore source. And notice as I start typing in, it starts filtering down and showing me what my choices are. So I'll select source category equals. And then I'm going to type in labs/Apache. And notice as I start typing in, the type ahead starts giving me the ability to filter. I only want to see the Apache access logs. And without adding the and get for a second, if I run this, you'll notice that for the last 15 minutes, I am seeing 7,061 log messages. Now, these log messages may have get in it, it may have post, it may have whatever in them, okay? If I want to, I can filter this even further by saying, look, I only want to see messages that maybe have a 304 in them. And so when I run this, now it shows me I have 987 messages. And all of these messages have a 304 in them. So it automatically filters what I'm seeing. In fact, I'm going to go back here to a slide that you will probably find very helpful for your exam. And the process that we typically go through when we create a query is this first line is where we apply our metadata tag and any keywords that we want. Now, I use 304. You could have used Mozilla. We could use get. We could use anything we want to here. And actually, we're going to switch back to get. So this gets us our result set. This is what we want to search for. This is our universe that we want to see. And then after that, we typically parse out the fields that we want. I'll talk more about that. Then we filter. Then we aggregate. Then we format. And if you think about this, this is kind of like a funnel process. This first line sets the diameter of a funnel. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So that first line, that metadata and keyword, sets the diameter of a funnel. If I just used the star, the wild card, my funnel would be much wider across the top. And then as I go through this process of parsing, and we can parse based on an anchor, we can parse based on a regular expression, we can parse based on JSON, CSV, XML, key value pairs, all kinds of different ways we can parse. Then we can filter, right? We can add a where clause or an if operator or something like that. We can aggregate, and then we can format. And you'll see as we go through the next couple of exercises, we'll see some of those operators. Okay. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to change this to the word get. The reason, by the way, I did not type in get initially is all of these messages are filtering for get anyway. And to answer somebody's question earlier, you noticed I typed in a lowercase get. Didn't make any difference. It found the uppercase gets. So this first line is case insensitive. Doesn't make any difference if it's uppercase, lowercase, it works just fine. All right. So I'm specifically looking at my Apache access logs and any message that has the word get in it. That get could be anywhere. Okay. Then we talked about the time. I talked about how you could change relative time, type in the time. You can go to date time formats, whatever you want to. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do a parse anchor. And this, by the way, is the hardest part of the whole class. okay? Doing this parse anchor, because you got to pick on something and start something. Now, there's lots of ways we can parse. As I said, we could parse using JSON, we could parse using CSV, we can parse doing a regular expression, we can parse doing a lot of things. But we're going to use a parse anchor. And for test purposes, a parse anchor only works if your messages are consistently formatted. So in other words, if I had two different types of message formats in here, a parse anchor would not work. As it is, all of these messages are formatted the same way. So a parse anchor would work. But if I had my Apache access logs and my Apache error logs, two different structures, a parse anchor would not be the solution. Then I'd use a parse regular expression or something else. Now, while we're here, let's also talk about these fields. This is my field browser over here to my left, my field browser. And typically it shows me any fields that are already being pre-parsed. We have something in our product called a field extraction rule that when we ingest data in, we can pre-parse out those fields. And therefore I would not need to do a parse anchor or a parse JSON or a parse whatever, because the fields are already there. However, I'm going to assume that you don't have that. So I'm going to assume that you don't have in your environment any field extraction rules. If you do, great, that's fine. Not okay. Understand we're doing with source categories lab/Apache and get and no logs found. Do me a favor, make it lab/Apache/access, and that will probably work. Okay. And Stephen, your question is, if you have two message types, would a parse anchor work on the half that? Yes, it would. It would work on the half, the one that would work. Otherwise, it work on that. So I hope that that answers your question. Formats to work, then you're going to have to use a different type of parsing mechanism. So if we use Apache access, and by the way, let me help you out here a little bit. For anybody who's having a hard time, let me copy this and put this in the chat box. Okay. So try copying that and pasting that in. That should work. Okay. You forgot the access. All right. So the parse anchor, how this is going to work is I am going to anchor on my start character, on my end character. I could pick any character here that I want to anchor on. As it is, I am going to pick on this bracket right here. So I'm going to put my cursor just to the left of the bracket. I'm going to hold my mouse down and I'm going to swipe over it. So I'm going to swipe over that bracket. I'm going to swipe over the double quote get. I'm going to swipe over the slash. I'm going to swipe over HTTP 1/1. I'm going to swipe over these two sets of numbers. And I'm going to swipe over this URL, including the double quotes. And that's as far as I am going to go. So again, what I did, and I could pick the first message. I could pick a message down here. It doesn't make any difference. Start at the bracket. Oops, excuse me, start at the bracket there, John. Swipe over, get the word get this URL stuff. Get these two sets of numbers. Then I'm going to go down to the next line and I'm going to get that URL, including the double quotes. So it doesn't make any difference which message that you get. So you're going to swipe over that. And I'm anchoring on the bracket on the left and I'm anchoring on the double quote on the right. Now with your cursor on over this message that's highlighted, if you right click on it, you'll see that you have an option to parse selected text. Choose parse selected text, please. Then you'll see that what you've highlighted is listed up here. And now we are going to extract the fields that we want. So I'm going to find the word get. I'm going to swipe over it. I'm not going to grab any leading spaces or trailing spaces, just the word get. And it says here, you can click to extract this value. And I'm going to click to extract that value. That replaces this with a star. And then down here in my fields, I'm going to type in the word method. Because get is a method. That's what get is. I could call it, anything I wanted to, but I'm going to call it a method. And my fields down here are separated by commas. So I type in method, comma. Then the next thing I'm going to grab here, and you may have a single slash, but in my case, I've actually got this entire URL. So I'm going to swipe over this. You may have a single slash here. I want to grab this. Right. Oops, I'm sorry. I almost forgot the F there. And I don't want any trailing and leading spaces. So try this again. Oops, come on. You can see this is a bit tedious. All right. So again, I highlighted only the text that I want, which is the entire URL. I click to extract this value. It replaces it with a star. Down here, I'm going to type in the word URL for Uniform Resource Locator, assuming I can operate a keyboard correctly. URL, John, the L. There you go. Okay. I'm going to leave this HTTP 1/1 alone. I'm going to look at this 3-digit number. I'm going to swipe over this 3-digit number. Again, avoiding trailing spaces, leading spaces. Click to extract. This is my status code. Now, any field down here cannot have a space in it. So I could type in something like status code like this, camel case, or I could put an underscore in it, but I've got to make sure it's a single field name. So status code with a comma. Then I'm going to grab this 4-digit number, which is my size, my page size. Again, I'm going to extract it. I'm going to call it size. And then I'm going to grab this URL inside the double quotes, not including the double quotes. So I'm going to grab this inside the double quotes. And again, I'm going to extract it and take it a minute. Patience is one of my strong virtues here. Come on. There you go. And I'm going to call this my referrer. Okay. And again, I can't seem to operate a keyboard. There we go. Now, when I click submit, it's going to type in this command for me. So that's the whole reason I'm doing this parse anchor, to type this command in for me. Okay. Okay. Somebody asked a question. This is status code. How to identify it? I mean, if you're asking whether it's how to identify a 200 from a 304 from whatever, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Okay. But now when I click submit and it's added this line of code, if I run this, you will now notice that here's my timestamp. It extracted out my method, my referrer, my size, my status code, my URL, and then over here to the right is still my original message. So it has extracted out these fields for me. And for those of you who are keen of eyesight, you might have noticed that the order that I put them in here is not the order that they're showing up in over here. The order that they're showing up over here is alphabetical. Okay, so they're showing up over here alphabetically. If I want to, there's a command we can use called the fields command to change the order that's being displayed. But by default, it does it alphabetically. Now, for those of you, when you did this, if you didn't get the right results, you got an error, there's a problem, whatever, just to save yourself a little bit of time and a lot of frustration, if you scroll down to lab 2 about 2/3 of the way down, you will see this code. And if you grab this code, copy and paste it in, you'll be good to go. Okay. Like I said, that parse anchor is a bit tedious. And then the other thing, of course, it's suggesting we do is go ahead and save this. I don't care if you save it or not. It's entirely up to you. You don't really need to save it, so don't sweat it. But obviously, you know, when you're writing code, code a little bit, save a little bit, test a little bit, code a little bit, test a little bit, save a little bit, you know, that sort of thing. And let's move on to lab number 3. Okay. How do I save it? Ah, good question. Thank you. So to save it, And we've changed the interface. So it used to be a save as down here. We changed the interface. Over here on the query where the more action button is, there is a save as option. So yeah, great question. Appreciate you asking. This is where we can do a save as. You can also share it if you want to from here and some various other things. Okay. All right. And that takes care of lab 2. Now, in lab 3, what we're going to do is we're going to create a visualization out of this. So we're going to enhance it a little bit. So in lab 3, they want us to take this code, count by status code, and they want us to add that to our query. Okay. Is there a way to automatically insert a line break or page break when you type in a pipe? No, there's not, Steve. Just to be honest with you, it's a great question, but no. And the reason is we don't want the system to automatically do anything. We want you to control what's going on. Okay. So back to lab 3 here. I want to go to the end. Again, I want to do a shift enter, an alt enter, and I want to paste this line in. And it's going to do a count by my status code. And when I run this query, running the query, I now have this new aggregates tab where I can see all my different status codes and the count that I have of them. Okay. And the reason I like this is now in my aggregates tab, you'll see that I can start thinking about bar charts or column charts or line charts or donut charts or whatever the heck I want. I don't have that capability under messages. Don't. You can take your messages here and you can export them out. But, and by the way, if you're displaying your aggregates in a tabular session, this little icon right there, you can download this as a CSV too. But chances are you want to create some sort of a visualization. But we want to enhance this visualization a little bit. So here in lab 3, what we want to do is we want to break it down by 1-minute sections, 1-minute buckets. So we're going to, above the count operator, add a new line for my time slice operator. So we're going to go in here and copy this line, or again, I could type it in. And what this time slice operator does is it's going to create buckets of time slices. In this case, 1M means every 1 minute. So I'm going to have, I'm running for 15 minutes. So I'm going to have 15 buckets. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to count by my underscore time slice. And status code. Now, why did I use an underscore here? Again, time slice is an operator. It creates my time slices. The result of that creation are referred to as underscore time slice. So now when I run this, I am now seeing my time slices, I'm seeing my status codes, and I'm seeing my count. So I'm breaking things down a little bit. These are my time slices. Okay. By the way, my time slices aren't in any order yet. I could either sort it by time slice, underscore time slice, or I can use other operators that will force a sort. And that's what we're going to do next. So here in lab 3, we added our time slice operator. We're counting by our time slices. Then we're going to do the transpose operator. I want to create a pivot table so that my time slices are on my rows, my status codes across my columns, and my counts are in the middle. And for that, we use the transpose command. So transpose. There it is. And then what do I want on my row? I specify the word row, and I want underscore time slice. Column. What do I want my column? I want status code. So now when I run this, I see here are my time slices, and they are now in order. The transpose command took care of that. And then I'm also seeing my status codes here. In fact, now I can make a bar chart, a line chart, whatever. The book wants you to use a column chart. I like a line chart better, but that's just me. This first one up here, this highest one, is my 200s. For those of you familiar with web pages, a 200 means everything worked great. So that's really not an error, okay? I want to filter that out. The other one down here, the next one down here is a 304. Those of you familiar with web pages, a 304 means I received something from cache. It's also not an error. It's an informational type thing. So what I want to do is I want to filter out my 200 and my 304. Now, we recommend when you want to filter right after you get the field. So if I'm filtering for status code, I want to filter right after I get the status code. So up here, after this second line, we're going to add a new line, the type in a pipe, the type in where, type in some parentheses, because I'm going to have this or this, and I'm going to say status code equals 200 or status code equals 304. Okay. Now the problem is if I run this, it's only going to show me where my status code equals 200 or 304, which is exactly opposite of what I really want. So to fix that, I'm going to put in front of the parentheses here an exclamation mark. So now what it does, it reads where not status code equals 200 or status code equals 304. And when I run this, now I'm getting back all of my other codes, 302s, 401s, 402s, all that good stuff. These are my errors. These are what I want to show my users. And that is where we create our chart and we add our filter. And that takes care of lab number 3. Okay. MS, could you do me a favor? Could you take your code and you paste it in here for a second? Take the code of your entire query and paste it in there. I think it may have misspelled something, is what I'm thinking. Thank you. Okay, get rid of the second count by status code. You got count by time slice and status code. Then you got count by status code. Get rid of that count by status code. You don't need it. And then transpose row time slice. Yeah, that's the problem is that second count by is throwing you off. Okay. And again, if nothing else, take the code that's in the book and copy and plagiarize that. Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. One of the problems, obviously, I'm constrained by time here to go into long explanations and try to help you out here. I realize I'm starting to cut into your exam time here. Don't worry, you still have 60 minutes for your exam. Let me finish up this course and extend, 60 minutes to take the exam, and then we'll see each other tomorrow. This class does tend to run a little long. The one tomorrow and the one Thursday will not typically, but this one does run a little long. So let me shift on to lab number 4 here and get things going. Okay. Yes. So Adam wants to filter it by specific ranges and stuff. Yes, you certainly can. Absolutely. So you can filter it by ranges, greater than, less than, equal to, whatever. Also, you can also do a string match on it if you want to. So you can say, where matches, the operator is going to be matches for a string match, and you got to put the result in double quotes. So yes, absolutely. So moving on here to lab 4, what we want to do is we want to create a dashboard. Now, back here, to create a dashboard, it's really simple. Here is our query in our aggregates tab. There is a button over here to the right that says add to dashboard. I want you to click on add to dashboard. And this panel, you can call whatever you want. I think I'm going to call it Apache status codes. Okay, that's fine, because that's the name of the panel. And then the dashboard This is where you get to give that dashboard a specific name. I'm going to start with my initials, and I'm going to call this Apache status code. And as you can see, I've got a few of these. So I'm going to type in today's date, 01/18/2022. Okay. And the reason I did that was so it would save me an option to create a new dashboard, right? I want to create a brand new dashboard. I don't want this to go to an existing dashboard. So I'm going to choose to create a new dashboard. Now, we have got two types of dashboards in our product, new dashboards or legacy dashboards, okay? A lot of the functionality that's in our legacy dashboards hasn't yet made it to our new dashboards. So today we are still teaching the legacy dashboards. We also show new dashboards and other exercises, okay? And I'll show that to you in another lab here in just a little bit. But what I want to make sure you do is on this create and dashboard new UI, I want you to click on the switch so it flips it to the left. I want you to use our legacy dashboards. Our legacy dashboards. Okay. And it's going to store it in your personal directory. And we're going to go ahead and click add. So now it's going to add this as a legacy dashboard here. And first thing you'll notice, if you're like me in the over 50-year-old category, it's kind of small. So I can go out here and I can drag it by the corner and I can stretch it out so it becomes more readable for those of us in the visual acuity area, right? And then up here, if I want to add another panel, by the way, we're switching now to the next lab, lab 5. Excuse me, we're still in lab 4, excuse me, lab 4. We're going to add a text panel and play around here a little bit. So here in lab 4, we can add a panel. Now, in our legacy dashboards, the only panel I can add here is a title panel or a text and title panel. Okay, so my title, or maybe some says Apache status codes, and then something like these are the errors our customers are seeing. Okay, whatever, some message. And when I click submit, it's going to add that panel in here. And again, I can shrink it up to kind of fill in the area if I want. And if I want to, I can change the order of these. I can drag either one of them, maybe over to the left, then go down here and drag this one up. I can also, if I want to, click on the 3 vertical dots and I can toggle the theme. So I can make a dark theme or I can make it a light theme, whichever you personally prefer. Now you'll find in our new dashboards, inside the dashboards, you can create other queries and stuff right here. But in this legacy dashboard, if I want to create a query, I've got to create a search, and then I'm going to add that to this existing dashboard. That's how it works on our legacy dashboards. Now, when you are done editing this dashboard and you're ready for people to consume it, you click Done Editing, and people can now consume it. And what's going to happen here is that every 15 minutes, this dashboard will refresh, which is okay. But I'd like it to refresh automatically as new data comes in. I'd like to see the old data come out. For that, we have something here in the legacy dashboards called live mode. And if you click on live mode, now as new data comes in and this query runs, refreshes itself automatically, it won't be at 15-minute intervals. It'll be like every minute. It'll update automatically. Okay, that's live mode. I'm going to turn off live mode for a second. And I'm going to point out the big test question here. If you want to edit a dashboard that you need to edit again, you want to click on this icon, the pencil icon up here. Now you can edit it, change the layout, do whatever you want to. And when you're done editing, click Done Editing so people can see it. And that is lab 4 with one small exception. Also, if you want to, you can share this dashboard. So here in my little share icon, I can click on the share icon and I can share it with others. Okay, just like you could the folder and other things that we shared before. And that's lab 4. Lab 5, modifying an existing dashboard. If you remember earlier, we created and installed the Apache app. So if I go back into my navigation panel, I go into my personal folder, I find the Apache app that I installed. I click on my Apache overview. I see there's a series of panels here. Each one of these panels is in fact a query. Now this is done in our new dashboards. In our new dashboards, as I said before, if I want to, I can add a panel and I can add a query right here. So you can do it all right here within this tool. In fact, here's my visitor location panel, which is what we want to fix. So here in Lab 5, to modify our dashboard, we find our Apache overview dashboard in our Apache app. And we're going to want to edit this query, this visitor location query. And the cool thing about it is in the new dashboards, we can edit in place. So I can click on here, I can click on edit, and it shows me my query, my results, and everything here. Now, first thing you'll notice is, oh, wow, there's a really cool map box plot. So I can see things spaced out across the globe in a map type thing. I don't have time to get into why and all that fun stuff. We get into all this in detail in the Search Mastery class. So if you want to look for more query type classes, that's that. But here is where I am going to look up this information and where I'm able to generate latitudes and longitudes using an IP address. And after this line, we're going to add a new line. We're going to add a pipe, and we're going to add a where clause. Where I can either choose to use country name or country name or country code. I'm going to choose where country name equals, and then it's going to be a literal string. United States. Now, the reason I'm choosing to use United States as opposed to other things is we don't have data from all the countries of the world. So when I run this query, rerun this query, now you'll notice I'm only seeing data from filtered within the United States. So, and I can go into this and I can break this information out and see basically what's happening. But I'm only showing data now for the United States. I believe for those of you from the UK, you could choose the United Kingdom if you want to as the country name, or country code of UK if you wanted to. But I have modified this dashboard. Now I want to update this dashboard, and now it will show me the new results. And I'm going to go ahead and move this around a little bit, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and make it so that I can basically see my results here. Okay. And that's Lab 5, modifying the dashboard. Any questions? Two more labs, and one of them's already done for you, so we're in good shape. Lab 6 should be done here in about 5 minutes. Creating an alert. We've got a lot of different ways that we can alert inside Sumo Logic, okay? Recently, and when I say recently, about 4 months ago, we added in our navigation panel here, under Manage Data, this monitoring section. And in this monitoring section, we can add monitors and alerts, very powerful alerts based on logs or metrics or whatever we want, that basically we can define criteria for warning data, missing data, whatever, and then we can notify folks via email, Slack, various other things and all that. This is relatively new. We haven't incorporated this in this course yet. We've incorporated the admin course, but not here. This is one of the many ways that we can create alerts, okay? No problem, yep. Okay, so let's, I guess we got a flurry of questions here. Let me take care of it. So Jack wants to know, can we copy that map to another dashboard? Okay, so let me go back to my map here for a second, right? If I want to copy this map to another dashboard, you'll notice here I can duplicate it. okay? Or I can actually open the query, and there's my query, and then I can save this to another dashboard if I want to. So yes, Jack, that's easily enough to do, okay? Okay, no problem. And then whether Miran wants to know whether Sumo can be integrated to observability application to view the alerts. Yes, you can, because these alerts are basically URLs, and they can be consumed as URLs. So if you want to incorporate them in other things, you will. Alerts, if I want to see my monitors here, and by the way, you can organize your monitors by folders, but here, you can see your monitors and see their status. But more importantly, if something goes cattywampus, you want to be notified, whether that's an email, tickle a PagerDuty, whatever you want to do, you want to integrate that with your other systems. And so you can do that as well. So yes, you can see this through other systems. Also, when you install our built-in apps, our app catalog, they typically also come with various alerts that will get installed and become available to you. Now, as I said, these are our new alerts. Before we had these new alerts, we had the easiest way in the world to make an alert. And that's what I'm going to show you here in just a second. Okay.
Don, before you move on,
yes, sir.
Can I just, on the screen you're on, if I could just ask you to click on the connections tab. Sorry, so monitors connections.
Yep.
So, and then if you just click on the plus.
Yep.
So, there is talk around integration with other systems. As you can see, you can integrate it with a number of different services, everything from AWS Lambda, if you want to kick off some further automation, PagerDuty, which is quite popular on our platform. And little known fact, PagerDuty actually is powered by Sumo Logic. As well as ServiceNow and Jira. Just a quick add as well. I know when the question was asked whether Sumo can be integrated to an observability application, a lot of our customers do use Sumo Logic for observability because we are able to link traces, metrics, and logs as well within the same system and allow you to do correlation around that, which is pretty powerful. So I just wanted to make a quick note that from the observability side, Sumo does tend to cover those three pillars of observability.
Yep. And one thing I'm going to add to that is that tomorrow we're going to focus on the observability solution. So we will get into that in quite a bit of detail. Okay. Stephen points out he does not have a connections tab. You're absolutely correct, Stephen. You do not, because of rights and permissions that you guys have. So Stephen pointed out he does not have a connections tab, and you don't. None of you will here, because it's a privilege that we didn't give you. We don't want a lot of folks to try to go in, oh, let's play around, let's poke around, let's build something and cause things to break. So we're just trying to protect ourselves here a little bit. Okay. So yeah. All right. So back to the issue at hand. Lab 6, we want to talk about creating an alert. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back here to our Apache overview. And we're going to go into our visitor location. And this time we're going to open it up in search. And this is our search tab that we've seen before, just like our log search and all that stuff. And the easiest way and the oldest way that we used to create alerts is really simple. We used to go over here where the 3 vertical dots are and where your save as option is. When you click on save as, you'll see that you can schedule this search. So you can schedule this search to run over and over and over again. And you can, even when you schedule the search, specify that you want it to email or send to PagerDuty, or through a webhook or ServiceNow connection or whatever, you can do all these various actions when the search is run every 15 minutes. Or you can also do it if a condition is met. And the condition is met is the number of records that you get back. So this is where we don't get enough of a conversation into this. So what happened is the start of this alert conversation started here, and it finishes up in the next sequential class called Search Mastery. And that class does a good job of explaining the alerts and alert capability that we have. What you need to know for this class is, and for this test, is to create an alert. And here you're going to go and click on the 3 vertical dots, and you're going to click Save As. Save As, you can schedule this search, schedule it however often you want it to run. And then if you want to send it via email, right? You can specify who you want it to go to, users, groups, or whatever. You can specify some dynamic and static fields in here. So it's going to have the word search results and then the name of the search, or other fields in here that you want. And then you can also add in here your search query, your result set, your histogram. And if you want, you can even include a CSV attachment. So there's some test questions around these options here as well. And that's the easiest way, the basic way of creating an alert, okay? Again, we've got a lot more powerful ways, but again, not incorporated in this class just yet. And that's really lab number 6. Now, lab number 7, we've already done, get help. I talked to you about how you can, I can, we can go into our help section here, and we can go out to our documentation, support, all that stuff, as well as on your home tab. In the Learn tab, you can also get to a lot of these things that way. So, but here's probably the preferred way, because in your company's environment, you may or may not have that Learn tab, but you'll always have this help section. So lots of different ways to get into tech support, going to our community, going to our support site. Also, we have a Slack channel that you're welcome to join, okay? If you want to, it's a publicly facing Slack channel that you guys can ask questions on and all that sort of thing. So what questions have you before we start thinking about taking the exam? What questions have you? Again, you're going to get 60 minutes from the time you start the exam. I'll be here for the next hour plus till you're all done. So, all right. Now, as far as the exam goes, and I see we got a question here, so let's go to address it, okay? How did you make the graph in the search? I'm assuming your question was, how did I get this graph, the map graph? Is that what you're asking? Or is there another graph that you were asking about? The search, no, the dashboard. Okay. I mean, back here, when I had this, I could add this to a dashboard. But the way I typically get the graph is I click on one of these icons. That's typically how we do it. Okay, great. All right. Now for the exam. Any other questions?
I've got questions on.
Yes.
I mean, are we allowed, have we got time to have a 15-minute break, please, before we all take the exam? Is that okay?
Sure. Actually, what I was going to do is give the instructions, which take about 5 minutes. Then you're on your own. You can take whatever breaks and stuff that you want. So,
okay, right.
Yeah. I just want to get to the instructions here real quick.
Cheers.
Yep. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sure some of you probably could use a break. I'm going to go and close these tabs. Now, the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that you're in our training environment and you're logged in as training analyst with some crazy number. You're not logged in with your name. All right. And that means you're not going to get credit for passing the exam. So what we want you to do is we want you to log out of our training environment. So if you open up your navigation panel where your name or the training analyst account is down here, if you click on it, you'll see there's a sign out option. And we want you to sign out of our environment And we want you to log into your company's training environment. Okay. So you want to log into your company's training environment because I'm going to assume that your company, you're logged in with your first and last name, your email address, and we've got first and last name. So we want to make sure you're logged into your company's environment. And the easy way to spot that is when you do log in, you'll notice over here that it's got your name. Okay. Now, if anybody doesn't have a training environment, someone let me know, and I'm sorry, anybody doesn't have a environment, work environment, let me know, and I'll see if I can help you out. But I need you to log into your company's training environment. Sorry, your company's environment, excuse me. Sorry, company's URL, your company's URL, sorry. Please log into your company's environment. I'm sure your company doesn't have a training environment. They do have a production environment or maybe a dev environment, whatever, but I want you to log in one of those. So you're logged in with your name and you get credit for the exam, okay? All right, I figured somebody's not going to have an environment, and that's fine. Good news. We can help you out. Bear with me a second. You can, I can, we can sign up for a free environment to play and take the exams. So this URL is if you do not have an environment to play with. And you can sign up for a free environment here. It doesn't cost you anything. We won't want to ask you for a credit card, anything like that. And you can use that to take your test. So I put it in the chat box. But I'm going to assume the majority of you do have a company environment that you can log into. Now, before you log in, let me take something, let me try to head something off at the pass, if you will. Forgive the cliche. You're logged into your company's environment, right? I would like you to open up your navigation panel. I would like you to click on Help in the navigation panel. And I would like you to click on Community inside Help in the navigation panel. Now, I'm hoping that some of you see a pop-up panel appear. I don't, because I fixed this years ago. But there's a pop-up panel that some of you will see that says something like, has a button that says verify your email. And basically, here's the issue. We in Sumo do not let you move from one environment to another environment without your permission. So what I want you to do is when you click on community, if that pop-up appears, I want you to click on verify email. It will then send you an email, which you'll get in 1 to 3 minutes or so. Find that email, and in the body of that email, it has a little button that says verify your email or whatever, give permission or whatever, allow. You click on that, and then this problem goes away. Now you'll be able to move from one Sumo Logic environment to another Sumo Logic environment. And the point is that without doing this, you would not be able to get to our certification area. So again, you're in your company's Sumo Logic environment. You click on community, you get a pop-up. I don't, but you will. It says verify email. You click on that. A few minutes later, you get an actual email. In the body of that email is a button. Click on that button. This problem is now solved. You'll never have to worry about it again. Okay. Okay. Somebody's asking, is there an online link or a URL to take the exam today? Yes, the exam is actually going to be done from your company's Sumo Logic environment. If you don't have a company Sumo Logic environment, in the chat box, you'll see I put a sign up for a free demo. You can use that. Now, so let's answer your question here. So now that we've solved that little problem, in your company's environment, I want you to click on the Home tab. This time, click on the Certification tab. And in the Certification tab, there's a button that says Get Certified. When you click on Get Certified, it should now take you into our learning management system. Here is our training portal. If it doesn't take you here, that's when you got to go back, click on Help, click on Community, and do that rigmarole stuff I just said. Okay. Habas, it says the verification email cannot be sent. Okay. Okay, I understand. Habas, is there another environment you can log into, sir? Do you have like a dev, do you have more than one company environment that you might be able to use? Otherwise, we got to reach out to our support folks and ask them and see if they can help you work through this. Okay. So you may want to reach out to support on that. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Good question. So Rob asked, if you're already certified, does this extend it? Your fundamental certification is good for 2 years. So if you're doing if you did a level 1, probably did more than 2 years ago, yeah, it's probably a good idea to get recertified. Okay. Verification error doesn't seem to work as planned. Interesting. Again, Karthik, I would recommend you reach out to our support folks on that. Okay. Yep. All right. So again, those of you who did get into our certification area here, there's a section for getting certified. And if you click on getting certified, here is the fundamentals exam, which is the one we're going to take for today. Now, I want to show you something. I want you to be aware of something. By the way, when you go to the fundamentals exam, there's a button to register. Boom, you're instantly registered. Up here in the corner is your profile. This is where we keep track of what exams you've passed and all that good stuff. Once you pass it, you can view your certificate. You can edit your LinkedIn profile, all of that nifty stuff. But there's a reason I'm pointing this stuff out. So bear with me just a minute. When you take your exam, and again, you click on the register button, boom, you're registered. I don't want you to follow along with me. I just want you to watch for a second. So before you start, it shows you your exam questions, 30 questions. You got 60 minutes to complete it. It's open book, open notes, open slides. If you need me to show you something, got a question, feel free to reach out. I'll be here. Again, the exam questions are fill in the blank, multiple choice, et cetera, et cetera. When I click next, it's going to take me to my exam. Here's my 60-minute, 1-hour counter. As I scroll down and I start seeing questions, my counter starts to count down. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing this, so bear with me. Which of the following charting options is not a true option in Sumo Logic? It doesn't do Gantt charts, does geomaps, does pie charts, does line charts, doesn't do Gantt charts. Keyword searching allows you to look for specific words in your log messages. Which is following true about keyword search? They are not limited. They are not case sensitive. It does allow wildcards. It supports Boolean logic. Hold on a second. Oh, I see. No wildcards. That's a statement. It's false. Now I've answered the first 2 questions here. I'm going to scroll to the end. Obviously, I'm going to submit this. I'm going to fail because I only answered 2 questions. But the point is this. Number one, you can see what you got right. You can see what you got wrong. And obviously, I got the second question wrong. Stupid me. I'll have to look at that again. But also, most importantly, is the submit button. When you take the exam and you pass it, please do not forget to click the submit button so it adds it to your profile. If you don't click that submit button, it's not part of your profile. You really didn't pass. You don't have a certificate. I wish this, when you passed, it automatically did the submit action, but it doesn't. So please click the submit button so that you get credit for passing the exam. If you fail it, I don't care if you hit the submit button or not, quite frankly. Okay. But that's my only last piece of advice. Any questions? Okay. Can I kindly repeat how I got to this? Okay. How I got here is, leave this, in my Sumo Logic environment, in your company's Sumo tab, there is this Get Certified button. When you click on this, this should take you into our learning management system. If it does not take you into our learning management system, if it takes you to here, that's why I asked you to go to the help community and then that pop-up panel, click verify email and all that. That's why I did that. Now, once you, again, click on certify, get certified, it takes you in here. Then the exam is under get certified, under fundamentals exam. Here's where that exam is. So I hope that gets you where you got to be. Okay. Excellent. Okay. You're very welcome, folks. Any other questions that you all have? All right. I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Again, I'll be here, so don't worry. If you know, get questions and stuff, take your exams. I'll be here till you all sign out. But otherwise, like I said, I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow's class should be a little more straightforward. And otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording.